We're talking with Scott Kellen from SixCentSports.com and Dave Golikoff, senior sports columnist from AskMen.com, here on the SBR TV NFL Experts Roundtable, previewing the conference championships of the NFL playoffs. And now we're just going to look at the AFC Championship game, which is Baltimore at New England. New England is a 7-point favorite at the moment, and they opened at about 7.5. They opened at like 9, juiced at Pinnacle. So that's a pretty significant move for a championship game. Someone's in betting Baltimore. I'm not sure what I think about this game. Scott Kellen, what's your read on this one?
I lean to Baltimore for a couple reasons. Number one, that better defense covers in conference championship games, so that automatically gets me looking at Baltimore. And then I think the question becomes, is there value with Baltimore from a line perspective? When I look at this, home away stats and whatnot, I get New England by about 5, maybe 6 points at the most. So I think there's a little bit of value with Baltimore. Baltimore looked horrible last week, and so the question is, will their offense be efficient enough? Because they're going to have to score points there. I mean, New England is rallying off 30-plus points in just about every game. So there's no question they're going to have to score points. You'd like to think that they can get their offense moving and be efficient against a New England defense that's been less than spectacular, although obviously it looks to be a little bit improved here recently. But you can't count their game against Denver last week. Once the Broncos got down, they had zero chance. I think you throw that game out, and then you remember a team like Miami, who probably has a defense somewhat similar to Baltimore's, maybe not quite as good. They really held New England down for quite a long time. The other thing with New England here, you look back, they have not beat a playoff team this year. They've only played 2 playoff teams this year. They lost at home to the Giants, and they lost at Pittsburgh. They have had an extremely, extremely easy schedule. I don't count Denver as a playoff team. That was a complete anomaly. So I question how good New England really is. I'll take the points with the better defense. I think Baltimore can do enough on offense to stay within the number.
Yeah. Dave Golikoff from AskMen.com. You have any opinion on these lines?
Yeah, this is one of the better plays that I've seen, at least in the playoffs.
Really?
And I like Baltimore plus the 9, absolutely.
Really?
And I don't think you're even going to be worried about the points. I actually like Baltimore minus 2.5 if you can find it. This is just, Peter, I've talked about this particular game for quite some time now. If you recall, when we're going all the way back to, late in the season when Baltimore had a shot at that number 2 seed, this is what they've played for. They know they needed home field advantage in the earlier rounds. They needed that bye. That's something that hampered them the previous couple of years. And they knew that they would have to go to New England, and they have no problem doing that. They've been there. They've been in New England. They blew them out the last time they faced them. And this, in my opinion, is a much weaker Patriots squad. After facing the Houston Texans defense last week, it's going to look like this Patriots defense is going to look like, Coastal Carolina after playing Nick Saban's Alabama defense. I mean, the Patriots are brutal defensively. I mean, the Ravens have a pretty good offense most of the time. They have the better ground game. They have the better defense all around. So really, you're getting a more balanced team playing in a scenario where they're very comfortable. Plus 9 points. This is crazy. This is like going out. It's like, Peter, if you said, I need to buy a white dress shirt, and you can buy pretty much any brand you want. If you went and bought the Burberry one, it's going to cost you way more than any other brand, and that's why you got to lay 9 points with the Patriots here. It's all about the brand. They're not, in fact, the better team. As Scott mentioned, only two games this year they played against winning teams, and they lost both games. The Ravens have played 7 games against winning teams and won all of them. Again, I like another, for a third straight week, a 9-point dog on the money line. And as I said, I'm even comfortable laying points with Baltimore.
Holy shit. All right, but what do you think about this? I mean, what about the fact that, New England, you look at their game against Denver last week, but maybe that's to their benefit because it'll let them get, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit healthier, a little bit more rested. And then you've got, Brady and Belichick, who's like a miracle worker. None of that scares you.
Well, of course it scares me to an extent. I mean, you're talking about probably the best coach of all time and one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But again, Peter, this is a team game. This isn't just one guy. We've seen Tom Brady frustrated before. Mm-hmm. We've seen the flaws of this team when they played the Steelers, when they played the Giants. You can't lay 9 points in this situation. I mean, I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but just from a straight-up logic handicapping perspective, this is great value on the Baltimore Ravens, who've been in this position before in New England and smacked them in the mouth. They crushed them the last time they were in Foxborough. It wasn't even close. I wouldn't be surprised if they, get up early and stay in control of this game the whole way through.
Holy shit. All right, just before we go, Scott Cowan from 6centsports.com, what do you make of that allegation that New England is like a brand name shirt that's just overpriced because of their brand name? You think that's legit?
I agree. I mean, I agree. I mean, and you look back, they as Dave said, they did crush them in the playoffs a couple years ago, and that same year they went to New England and lost 21-27. They had an excellent chance at the end of the game to score a touchdown and blew it. Last year they went to New England and lost 20-23. They've been very competitive with this team. If Flacco blows up and plays horrible or something, or you get a bunch of turnovers, like happened to the Packers last week, yes, of course anything could happen. But I would not be shocked at all if they win this game straight up. Not at all.
Wow. Holy shit. All right, well, we'll see how it all turns out. Thanks so much, guys. Great analysis, and we'll talk to you about the Super Bowl next week.